It's hard to believe on a day like today, but spring is almost here. And when it comes to gardening, there are some seeds that really need a jump start to get going. News 8's Corey Malice has more in today's Hands-on Gardening.
In today's Hands-on Gardening, we are talking seed stratification. I'm joined by Steve Hunzinger from the UW Extension Office. And Steve, that's a fancy term for basically bringing seeds out of dormancy. And not all plants need this, but certain plants need to have seeds that kind of need a jump start.
That's exactly right, and most of them, we're talking about a cold moist treatment that needs to happen. It might be 30 days, it might be 60 days, it might be as much as 90 days that we need to have them in a situation where they're getting some cold moist temperatures so they can break out of that dormancy and start to grow.
Okay, and how do you know which seeds do and don't need it?
Usually you're going to have to look on the package or the container that you get them in. Working with some of your reputable nurseries, they're going to have a code or a way to tell which seeds are going to need it and which seeds don't. Some of our native plants do, other perennials might need it to get them growing and started.
Okay, and the good news is it's a very simple process.
It is fairly simple. We're just taking those seeds, and we took a paper towel in this case, just made it moist or wet, and we laid the seeds right inside of it. And then we're going to keep it at a temperature, probably 33 to 34 degrees, to keep it at that consistent temperature and keep moisture on it. We don't want it soaking wet, but wet enough that it's going to stay moist throughout that time.
Okay, and you can store them in a refrigerator or maybe a cool basement or a crawl space, but you don't want them to freeze.
That's right. The main thing is not letting them freeze. Once they get to the point then of those 30 days, 60 days, or 90, they're going to start to break that dormancy or open up. That's when we're going to be able to transplant them into our next container. Usually indoors, we'll start them in a greenhouse or an area where we can keep an eye on them, see how they germinate, see how they start to grow before we plant them then out into our landscape.
Alrighty, a very simple process here, but for some plants, you need to have it or you won't have a plant.
Exactly.
That is today's Hands-on Gardening.